So with that, I'm really excited to introduce 4 of my colleagues, amazing women, amazing leaders at our company. Michelle Rowe, who is the Director of HR for Insight and leads our diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Jen Marks, who's a Senior Program Manager for Diversity at Insight. Suzanne Gallagher, Vice President of our go-to-market at Insight. And finally, Brooke Meunier, a Director in our client experience team. So these ladies are going to talk a little bit about some of the other things that are going on at Insight. And I'm just so excited to turn it over to Michelle, who's going to serve as our moderator.
Great. Thank you so much, Amy. And I am so incredibly honored to be here with all of you today. My name is Michelle Rowe, as Amy said, and I have the honor of leading our diversity, leadership, and organization development team here at Insight. And well, most of you have heard me say this, that anybody who works with me, I have the best job in the world because we get to impact the culture and our teammates and our communities every single day. Now, I'm sure some of these faces that you see right now will argue with me on that because they probably believe the same about their roles. But I just wanted to give a minute for everybody to introduce themselves, and then we will go ahead and jump in. As Amy said, I am moderating. But because I do have the background of really impacting the diversity and leadership for our teammates and everything internal there, if there's anything that comes up or any questions, I will jump in and answer some of those as well. So Suzanne, I want to start with you. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit more?
Absolutely. Suzanne Gallagher. As Amy said, I run our go-to-market strategy and solutions, which is as well one of the best jobs, I think, working with such great team members. I live in Colorado. I've been with the company about 5 years, 30 years in IT. 30. I'm not that old. I started really young, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. Brooke, let's go over to you.
All right. Hello, everyone. Brooke Meunier, Director of Client Experience at Insight. I'm based in Chicago. I have been with Insight a whopping 18 years now, and served in a variety of roles across operations, service delivery, now focused on really creating an outstanding client experience. Happy to be here.
All right, great. Thanks, Brooke. All right, Jen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jen Marks, and I am the leader over Insight's Supplier Diversity Program Office. I have been with the company almost 20 years, and I sit in Insight's headquarters, so in Tempe, Arizona, and I am also honored to be here today.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you all very, very much. I am going to jump right into questions because I know there's a lot of interest in all of the things that we are about to talk about today. And Brooke, I'm going to start with you. So I'm going to ask all of you this exact same question. But Brooke, how did Insight, so I know 18 years, how did Insight really support your career growth? Because you said a lot of different roles, variety of different departments.
Sure. So I would say first and foremost, it's been about the leadership team, right? So over the years, I've had the privilege of working for leaders who have given me opportunities to take on new challenges, right? Even if that meant, stepping out of their team and into another leader's team, taking on something I hadn't done before, but really giving me that opportunity to grow, and of course, giving me the support to do that. And so believe me when I say I see it as my obligation to pay that back every day in the women and other teammates that I support. So first and foremost, the leaders. I'd also certainly have to call out just some of the access I've had to top-notch training and development programs. And then last but not least, just the culture. So, every day I'm surrounded by teammates who are equally as curious about how can we improve and what technology solutions can we really integrate to have a bigger impact. And that exposure and that sort of, working with A players every day really helps me to up my game.
Awesome. Thank you. Suzanne, how about you?
I would echo a lot of what Brooke said, right? I think Insight, in my stay, and I've been through 22 acquisitions in my career, not on purpose.
22?
It's just kind of been, yeah. So, this kind of bringing goodness of cross groups of people and embracing that and seeing where their paths are. And so coming to Insight via acquisition and seeing Insight do additional acquisitions, right? That constant culture of how to make you the best you can be, and offering that. It's self-serve, and meaning like you've got to go take advantage of that, right? But fundamentally having such broad offerings and support mechanisms, and mentorship and training and just exposure to the breadth of portfolio and A players is really what's phenomenal about the company from that perspective.
Awesome. Thank you. And Jen, in 20 years, how about you?
So for me, I have to say there's always been a really transparent path to success. And like, Brooke says, it really comes down to the leadership. And, whether that's goal setting, whether that's spending time in one-on-ones, it's always been there, and it's been very clear. And so for me, what I take away from all of it is that, in addition to kind of paying it forward, is always to kind of make sure that you're continuing to learn. And what's really great about Insight is that I've never once in my almost 20 years been turned down for, asking, hey, you know what, could we set up a one-on-one, have a mentor, mentee kind of relationship? Can I spend a little bit of time with you on a quarterly basis? Not that, you can't get what you need from your managers, but there's different people in the organization, right, that you can learn from every day. And so I've loved the fact that I've always had that ability to reach out to an executive and say, can you spend time with me? And I've never once been told no.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And we're talking a lot about mentorship right here, and leadership, and really the people that we're surrounded with every single day, right? And I think we all feel extremely lucky about that. Suzanne, speaking of leadership, so how does Insight really work to develop our leaders and at the same time really ensure alignment? So we have a business strategy, we have culture strategy. How do we make sure that leadership, culture strategy, and business strategy is always aligned?
Always aligned. We don't
Or as
sleep.
often as possible.
We don't
You
sleep,
don't
I think
sleep.
is what. No, no. I think, like any large organization, even small organization, you want people to have focus and empowered for what they're good at, but you also have to make sure the weave between those pieces come together. And from a leadership perspective, I think that empowerment of and clarity of understanding your goal, the outcome you have to drive, and that the important financial and business strategy is just as important as your team developing, right? That
Mhm.
equally important is the development of the team that's going to deliver on those outcomes and those strategies across the different individual, SME groups and what they're thriving at. So I think, leadership bringing teams to the table, and then also really enforcing kind of a red teaming philosophy, right? We work together, you drive, you're empowered to go drive what you're great at, but you're held just as accountable to what you're great at as to how you're working great with everybody else on the table.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. Brooke, same question to you. How do you see that, making sure that we have that alignment there?
Yeah, this one it's so important. And I always think about the fact that we're in such a fast moving industry, right? We can't have these sort of rigid goals or, we've got to be flexible and nimble to be able to keep up with the pace of change. Now, that said, I think we've done a really good job knowing how important it is to align teams to whatever the business strategy is, and to make sure we're all working in that direction to set those frameworks, right? So I know we spend a lot of time really getting the framework right that drives the right level of consistency and expectations. And Amy spoke a little bit to this when she kicked off, talking about all the work we've done to really and revisit every year, what is our mission? What is our ambition? We're really working to integrate solutions that help our clients' businesses run smarter. That's it. Everybody at Insight knows that, right? And then having those other frameworks around our leadership commitments, right? How are we creating clarity? How How are we demonstrating thought leadership? How are we inspiring our people and delivering results, right? So that helps. And that's durable, right? That's durable, even though some of the other parts and pieces move. And then our values, right? Hunger, heart, and harmony. So that framework helps, and those create tools. I mean, I can tell you as a leader, I use those tools for setting my goals, my team's goals. I use those tools in interviewing. I use that for succession planning. I use it for coaching and mentoring. That really helps to make sure we stay aligned.
I love that. And I love that you're talking about how those, the leadership commitments and the values really are that foundation. And then as things flex and move, because business really does change all the time, that we make sure that we really have that consistency. So that's fantastic. Jen, how about you? Anything to add there?
I really think about our kind of our robust training, and leadership programs that we have, right? Whether it's purpose-driven leadership or it's something that's even more trickle down to public speaking, it just really kind of brings the collective together, and it brings forward not just our values and our commitments, but it has everybody together on the same team, right? Feeling the same feels and coming together in a common goal.
I love that. I love that. So we were talking about really both internal and external, the communities, the cultures. Brooke, can you dig in a little bit to how Insight gives back to our communities externally, but also internally as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't mention this when I introduced myself, but I also have the very, very great privilege of sitting on the board of the Insight In It Together Foundation. And it is an internal program. I'll talk about the external in a moment here, but this is really a nonprofit that we formed that is funded by teammate contributions, payroll deductions that people volunteer week after week to help fellow teammates anonymously, but to help fellow teammates who are experiencing crisis or hardship in their lives. And oh my goodness, the stories that come in and how we're able to help, whether it's help with medical expenses for a child that's ill or funeral costs or the list just goes on, right? And so I'm just so proud of the work we've done there. It's absolutely had an impact, on our community internally. We also have done a lot of work internally with our teammate resource groups and really creating a space for communities within the broader Insight community. And then externally, we've done, we have an overarching program called REACH that really encompasses all of those in-market giving, community giving and initiatives. So, our partnership with United Way and Ronald McDonald House, and the list goes on. And then we give our teammates paid time off to volunteer. And it could be with one of those programs that I mentioned, but it could be with something in their community as well. So really, really putting that focus on, making our community stronger, both internally and externally.
That's awesome. And, it's when you were talking about In It Together and really helping our teammates with any kind of crises that might come up, it struck me too that we do a lot in that with our teammates that are impacted by natural disasters, hurricanes, things like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the individuals as well, but then entire communities that are hit by big events. So really just offering that support and making sure that they have everything that they need. So just an incredible, incredible program that we have. Suzanne, Jen, anything you want to add to either what we do within your communities, internally, externally?
No,
Sure. I
Brooke
think,
said it right. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jen.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that the company offers, first of all, organizing internally and externally is just amazing, both from a board, as Brooke said, and the teamwork, but just individuals who get supported. Like, I've got this great thing that's going on in my community, and teammates will jump on board, and whether it fits in reach or it's personally something that they're experiencing, like, you have those options, right? And
Yeah.
then obviously it still takes a teammate to self-start, but the company puts out so much framework and support to bring those things to the table. It's really phenomenal because
Well
I
said.
don't
Well
find
said.
time to organize myself, so it helps me be organized, which is fantastic.
That's
Right?
empowering though, right? Knowing good ideas can come from anywhere, but we're supporting that overall, right?
Exactly. And they get heard, right? That can be
Yes.
heard.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Great. And Jen.
Yeah, I wanted to mention, the grassroots efforts or the department efforts, right, that also happen in addition to all of that kind of that company support. So the departments that I've been a member of. Right now, I'm a member of the finance team at Insight. And, for this year, the TSS group, the teammate group within finance is supporting, a few different male foster homes and, providing gifts and needs to them. And I just think that's really great to watch it both at the company level and then trickle down for all of us to participate where we can.
I love that. I love that. And the thing is too is that it's so interesting as we get to watch, obviously from an HR perspective as well, all of the things that are coming in and the photos that people are sending over and the individual, the things that they're passionate about, right, in their communities and in their markets. And so it's incredible to watch. And there's so much momentum around all
Yeah.
of that with our leaders and our teammates. So it's really a powerful impact that we're having on those communities. So I love that. I'm going to shift gears just a little bit. Suzanne, I'm going to start with you on this one. So obviously, the last 18 months, 20 months now, oh my goodness gracious, it's been a big shift in the way that the world works. And obviously, it takes a lot of strategy to figure out how to really make things work in this world that we're in right now. So, what did Insight do to really make sure that we were supporting teammates, ensuring business continuity when everything changed overnight?
Yeah. So, gosh, so many great things, right? I would say the first step was because we as teammates understood the culture is like problem, jump to action.
Hmm.
Like we are a swarm community. Like when there's a problem, we swarm. We swarm functionally, we swarm across, we swarm personally, we swarm. And that was immediate, right? For both our already existing remote workforce, which we
Hmm.
had in place fortunately, and could scale up infrastructure wise to support that, to our locations that even in a remote workforce were very dependent on internet access that didn't exist, and to our communities who were very dependent on internet access, our school districts, our counties, our places, who couldn't get devices or couldn't get headsets in hospitals, who couldn't get iPads in hospitals, from all parts of the crisis, both from a business perspective and a personal perspective, we swarmed, which was
Hmm.
phenomenal. And everybody brought to the table what they were good at, to accentuate, right? And it wasn't just about because I'm the hardest hit in this community, or I've lost family members, or my parents' business went out of business, or it was from all aspects. We kind of swarmed and collectively prioritized where we could support people to be the most successful as soon as possible. Over time, we just listened, I think, really well
Hmm.
all the time and encouraged not just listening to our teammates, but listening to our clients and our partners. Because during times of strife for our clients and our partners, we swarmed. Obviously, can't swarm everywhere, but we swarmed, right? A market or a vertical segment that was particularly hit hard, we wanted to be there for that client, even though they might not be able to do the business they were doing with us before or continue to do the business we did before. And just listened, continued through that process for our teammates who, after 12 months and 18 months,
Hmm.
have depression, not just because personally, just because they're gregarious people and they haven't been around people, and or
Hmm.
whether they were dealing something at home. I mean, even simple things like having events at the holidays where we're hosting
Mhm.
game night or parties for people who are secluded, to very large things in the community. So, there were so many ways, but I think that swarm mentality about supporting and rallying around and prioritizing our risks and our issues, and then collectively going and executing, and the company just supporting those actions, um,
Hmm.
it just was, I mean, really amazing. I mean, both from a retention and health and maintaining our business, but really phenomenal.
Well said. And, all of those things that you just talked about right there is just really that way to keep us all connected, right? In such a different
Mhm.
world and such a different environment, and just making sure that at the forefront of all of it, whether it's with our teammates or our partners or our clients or our communities, just everybody really staying connected. And it's
Yep.
been just a really incredible thing to see. Jen, anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I think we did a really excellent job of putting teammates first, right? And as Suzanne had said, right, kind of creating this environment that I really think boiled down to trust and making sure that as we had to be pulled into that virtual environment, everybody understood that we were still one team and that we were still there to support one another, and we were there to collaborate and make sure that everybody still had that team spirit and the confidence to raise their hand and not only share and share ideas, but really to raise their hand and say, I may be struggling or I need some help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, that's something that we're going to continue, right? So the team right now is working on making sure that we have that mental health support and just the support from a general and overall benefits perspective, just to be sure that if somebody does need something, that they know where to reach out and that we have a team of people that can jump in and get them aligned to resources. And I think, there's it's not over yet, right? The people are still feeling that way. So I think that having that level of support is extremely important and it will continue, right? It's something that we're never going to ever lose sight of at this point, right? So it's really important. Brooke, how about you? Anything you wanted to add to that?
I would just say, and this will sound obvious, but it couldn't have been more important than it has been in the last 18 months, is communication. And what we've done think about how much information has changed and how quickly the story develops. Even when we didn't have the answer yet, we were communicating. Whether it was about return to work, return to the offices, or vaccine mandates, all these things. Hey, we know this is going on. We know you have questions. Here's the update. We haven't made a decision on this. We're working on that. Just getting out in front of it and communicating, I think that helped teammates to feel, to know that we're on top of it. And kind of going back to Jen's point, we said from the day one, and I remember this, it's just indelible in my mind, day one, this is going to be a wild ride. But here's the guiding principles that we're going to use to make decisions. And the first most important thing is going to be teammate health and safety. And we have stuck by that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So just to shift a little bit, but I think that this really does kind of speak to everything that we've been going through over, the last 20 months. Jen, I'm going to start with you on this one. So how do we really ensure that all of us are working together toward that common goal? So we've kind of talked about what's happened and how we've really come together as a community and stayed connected over the last 20 months as a teammate community and with our, partners and clients. But there's a lot of different priorities. So how do we make sure that everybody's really working together toward that common goal, not only in this environment where we might not all be in the same area, but just in general?
Right. Well, I think we first and foremost have to be intentional, right, about building that team environment. And it is my job as a leader to make sure, right, that I am familiar with everybody on the team, where their focus is, how they can function, how well they can function, can they take a stretch goal or not, and you just generally, how are they doing, right? Are they in great spirits? Do they need some help? And I think that it's really important to make sure that we have that leadership touch, and we do that right very regularly in our connection meetings that we have with our teammates. And it's just something that I think makes sense so that people do understand, right? We're all in it together, and we're here to create that, again, that safe space so that we all can collaborate and we all can push forward together for those common goals.
All right, fantastic. Brooke, Suzanne, anything you want to add to that, really about kind of ensuring that alignment to make sure that we're all reaching toward that, delivering results on that common
Yeah.
goal?
Couple things come to mind for me, and I've learned this more and more the longer I've been in leadership positions, is just recognizing that everyone fits into the puzzle a little bit differently, and never taking for granted that everyone understands what that puzzle should look like or does look like when it all comes together, right? And so to Jen's point, being really intentional about, setting the goal, setting the mission, and tying people's kind of day to day, what their objectives are to that big mission. And I think about, and I know everyone knows the story, but it works, it resonates, right? The story in the 60s when we were going for the lunar landing mission, and JFK is touring NASA, and he stops and asks the janitor why he's working so late. And he says, "Mr. President, I'm working to help put a man on the moon." Everybody's got a spot, and just making sure everybody ties to that. And one thing I think that we do really well, and I see us do more and more of this, is celebrating the wins that show what good looks like, and being really careful to or thoughtful about recognizing the people that contributed to that win. And it could be an internal win or an external win too, but calling out, not everybody faces the client, not everybody touches the client, right? But everybody has a role to play, and celebrating those wins, and kind of goes back to communication, really helps.
I love that.
I,
How about you,
yeah,
Suzanne?
I would only add, and having the courage and the courtesy to always hold each other accountable
Mm-hmm. I love
on
that.
top of everything the other two
Yeah.
said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Agreed completely. So Jen, let's shift over to diversity and inclusion a bit. And um, there's a ton of diversity and inclusion initiatives that we have going on, both with our internal teammates that impact the community, but also with suppliers and partners. So um, how do we make sure that we're focused on that, with the diversity and inclusion in the existing programs, and really everything that we're doing to impact everybody that we come in contact with each day?
Right. So from a procurement perspective, right, the Supplier Diversity Program Office is there to really kind of form direct initiatives, right, so that we're all clear, right, that we need to do better at several things, including diversifying our supplier bench and diversifying our spend and really kind of pushing ourselves, right? So we've had prior goals, but making sure that we're pushing ourselves forward to do better. And for us, that really, is something that is just going to come day by day meetings, making sure that we're all aligned and we all have that common goal, but bridging that gap then to kind of, do nothing more than bring more business to those diverse categories, whether it's women owned, minority, all of the categories together. So it really comes for me just down to making sure that everybody is clear. Here's what the initiative looks like, right? And here's how you can help participate. You may not think that you can help participate, but you can. We all can. And so it really, for the most part, is just nothing more than making sure that we're aligned and that we're communicating with one another, and we make sure that we are taking care of those categories that are very important to us as a community and as a public company.
All right, fantastic. Brooke, Suzanne, again, anything to add there?
No,
No, Jen hit it.
I think our initiatives are phenomenal, and we've got, again, it's that everybody's trusting to jump on board and
Mhm.
move something forward, and good intentions and challenging each other, and goodness.
Yeah, a lot of that. A lot of that. And Jen, just to go a little bit more on what you were saying about supplier diversity programs. So obviously, on the call today, and people that work and are connected and partnered with Women in Cloud. So for those that are minority owned, women owned companies that with partners like that, how do you engage with them? What is that process there?
Well, where we're engaging today, right, we are attending as many of our client initiatives as possible. There are tons of events that are going on. I've attended 3, right, in the last month, to make sure that we're not only supporting the client's initiative, right, but we're doing our best to network. We're doing our best to make sure that we're there to support, and whether that means just attending, but more so attending, more matchmaking events, right? So
Right.
making sure that we can tie off with wherever our procurement needs are. If we need someone in the service space, if we need someone more in the internal procurement space, making sure that we're matchmaking and we're opening up opportunities for those diverse businesses, women-owned, minority-owned, et cetera, and then having me connect with them, right? So our diversity office is small staffed, but at the same time, I make sure that it's my job to not only when we choose someone to spend time with them to understand, what not only what their line card looks like, right, but what are their priorities, where are they
Mhm.
at today in the marketplace, and then continue on from there, whether we're able to fit them into our community or not within Insight, but making sure that I check in with them quarterly. Has anything changed? Maybe something's changed with us, to kind of keep that networking going and to keep that connection going.
I love that. That's awesome. All right, so we are almost at time. So I did want to close with just asking each of you one question. Uh, you. So anybody on here that that is listening, looking for work, looking for partnerships, looking for connection, just looking to learn about other companies and what's out there, what is the one thing that you would say is the most important thing to take away from this about Insight and about us and our culture and what it is that we do each day?
The one thing, holy moly.
One.
Okay.
It's going to be really
The
hard.
one thing, holy
One.
smokes. I
You could
think
do. You
that
can do two.
well, I'll leave I got to leave something for the ladies. I think the one, as it comes to partnership and as it comes to making connections, I think the one thing to take away from Insight is the scope and scale and commitment to those functions and relationships is so broad. It's just so rich with opportunity that, even if us as a global, a global Fortune 500 company in any particular area, probably a fraction of what really is capable for the network and the partnerships and the talent
Right.
that we have. So if you've learned anything, you've learned a fraction in this session about really the breadth of opportunity that's out there.
Absolutely. Well said. Definitely. Brooke, how about you?
This is a tough one. What I would say is just a reminder that, if you look at our history, Insight's story is such an evolution, right? From where we started, as a product reseller to where we are as a solution integrator, and all of the organic as well as acquisitions that we've taken over time to grow, and just reminding that there's relevance of, and I think that evolution is why we're so successful in the industry. Keep that in mind personally, right? All of us have to evolve and change and grow and take on new skills and be curious and be ambitious, right? And that's what I would say. I remind myself of that all the time. I remind my team of that. There's a corporate story there, but there's a very personal story there as well.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you so much. And Jen, how about you?
I think, like both of the ladies, beyond the capabilities and in the evolution of our company, I think what you can take away really is, I believe, having a better sense of our values, right? Understanding that we're all there for one another, not just on this panel, but in all of the other departments. We're there for one another. We're there to grow. We're there to learn together, because it really comes down to whether you're in one call with a few people, you're on a larger team call, or you're in this kind of event, we're all better as a team.
Absolutely.
So
Well,
true.
it's so true. It's so, so true. I cannot thank you all enough for being here with me today. I get to work with you all the time in different capacities. And so to be able to moderate a panel with all of you brilliant leaders at Insight just makes me so happy. So thank you very, very much for being here with us. And also for
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And then for all of you that attended, thank you so much for being here with us. So happy to share all of this. Obviously, we're very passionate about Insight and what we do each day. So we're just happy to be able to share a little bit of that with all of you. So thank you so much for having us. And Raisa, I'm going to turn it back over to you.